There are baseball stories built on flash, on early fame, on the quick strike of stardom that announces itself loudly. And then there are stories like Justin Wrobleski's, stories that grow slowly, shaped quietly, molded intentionally, and strengthened by battles that tested not just a pitcher's arm, but his resolve, his identity, and the foundation of family that carried him from childhood diamonds to the highest levels of professional baseball. His career is not defined by a single moment. Instead, it is defined by a collection of small sacrifices, emotional hurdles, late-night rehab sessions, and the kind of internal belief that only a few athletes ever learn to cultivate. To understand Justin Wrobleski is to understand the beauty of the long route, the lessons in patience, the value of support systems, and the unshakable love for the game that never once let him give up, even when adversity tried to push him away. Justin's story begins with the simple, relatable dream of a kid falling in love with baseball. Before radar guns and velocity charts, before prospect rankings and scouting reports, before the pressure of expectation and the bright lights of professional stadiums, there was simply a boy who discovered joy every time a baseball landed in his glove. And around him, there was family, the kind that didn't just encourage the dream, but invested in it emotionally, physically, and spiritually. For Justin, this grounding mattered. It built the person first and the athlete second. His career later became defined by moments of quiet perseverance, and that comes only from a household where commitment and humility are values repeated daily. As Justin grew, baseball became more than just a game. It became structure, purpose, and identity. He wasn't born into the spotlight. He wasn't handed a path free of setbacks or disappointment. His journey required hard decisions, transfers, adjustments, and starting again in places where nothing was guaranteed. When he first stepped onto the mound at the college level, he wasn't treated as a superstar. He was a competitor, one of many, fighting to be seen. But the one thing he always had was an ability to adapt. His willingness to learn, reshape his mechanics, refine his strategy, and grow mentally separated him from others. Many players have talent. Fewer have endurance. Even fewer have the emotional discipline to keep chasing a goal that moves further away every time an injury appears or every time opportunity seems to slip. Justin's college path reflected that resilience. When he moved from one program to another, it wasn't a step backward, it was an evolving chapter. His time at Mississippi State was brief but educational, a period where the game demanded more from him, forcing him to confront the intensity of high-level competition. When he transferred to Oklahoma State, he didn't just find a new team. He found another chance to prove himself, another environment that allowed him to rebuild momentum and confidence. At OSU, he refined his timing, sharpened his command, and slowly began to understand the pitcher he was capable of becoming. And it was there, on those practice fields, during bullpen sessions and in late-season battles, that his talent truly began to crystallize. Yet even as things improved, life threw obstacles in his path. Injuries appeared at times when hope felt within reach. Tommy John surgery, a milestone dreaded by pitchers everywhere, tested his mental strength. The physical process was difficult enough, requiring endurance through pain, months of repetition, slow progress, and constant uncertainty. But emotionally, the challenge was deeper. When you are sidelined, the game doesn't pause for you. Teammates play on. Seasons pass. The world moves forward while you stand still, forced to be patient, forced to watch, forced to wonder what the future will hold. For Justin, that period became one of the most defining arcs of his life. But he didn't face it alone. His family became his anchor, the voices reminding him that healing wasn't a setback, but an investment. The people who checked on him not as a pitcher, but as a son, as a brother, as a young man learning how to wrestle with doubt. Rehab demanded consistency, and the support he received kept him grounded. They didn't rush him. They didn't pressure him. They simply believed. They reminded him that his identity wasn't tied to a single season or a single injury. It was tied to everything he had already overcome and everything he was still capable of becoming. When the Los Angeles Dodgers selected him in the draft, they weren't just drafting the pitcher he was at that moment. They were drafting the promise of what he could become. They saw potential in his delivery, his athleticism, his ability to command multiple pitches with intelligence rather than force. They saw composure. They saw maturity. They saw a player who had experienced adversity and come out stronger. For Justin, hearing his name called wasn't merely a celebration. It was a validation of the hundreds of hours spent pushing himself when nobody was watching. It was a validation of family sacrifices, of the coaches who invested in him, of the personal work he had put in during moments where giving up would have been easier. The Dodgers are an organization that thrives on development, and Justin fit into that culture seamlessly. They didn't rush him. They didn't attempt to mold him into something that didn't align with his natural style. Instead, they trusted his foundation, refining the edges while allowing him room to grow. Through the minors, he became one of those pitchers whose presence commands quiet attention. His fastball worked with life, his breaking ball began carving hitters apart, and the confidence that had been tested through years of challenges now began to radiate. Every time he stepped on the mound, he carried the story of resilience with him. His rise wasn't meteoric, it was deliberate, and that is what makes it special. The best pitchers in the world are formed not by dominance alone, but by durability, consistency, and a deep understanding of identity. Justin learned to pitch with intelligence. He learned to control tempo. He learned how to keep hitters guessing, how to adjust mid-game, how to pitch with purpose rather than adrenaline. Coaches noticed his mental preparation. Teammates noticed his unselfish work ethic. Organizations noticed his continual growth. As his career climbed, so did expectations. But unlike many who collapse under pressure, Justin embraced it. Pressure, after all, was not new to him. He had fought its shadows throughout his entire journey, through transfers, through injury, through the competitive landscape of the minor leagues. What felt like pressure to others felt like opportunity to him. He pitched not out of fear, but out of gratitude. Gratitude for the chance to stand healthy on a mound again. Gratitude for the support that carried him there. Gratitude for the belief that had sustained him through the toughest moments. Behind the scenes, his family remained a constant presence. He didn't carry their expectations, he carried their love. For Justin, their support was not about fame or success. It was about witnessing his dreams, experiencing the highs and lows alongside him, and seeing him grow not just as an athlete, but as a person. They celebrated quietly, encouraged consistently, and supported faithfully. Their role in shaping his mentality cannot be overstated. They were the grounding force that allowed him to stay humble even as the opportunities around him expanded. In many ways, his story is still being written. He is still evolving, still learning, still sharpening the tools that brought him this far. But what cannot be rewritten, what stands firm in the legacy he is building, is the truth that Justin Wrobleski is a pitcher whose journey reflects human perseverance. His narrative teaches young athletes that paths are rarely straight, that success is rarely simple, and that the strength you build through adversity becomes your greatest weapon. Justin's professionalism, humility, and competitive heart make him more than just a promising talent. They make him a model, a symbol of the long road taken with courage. Every inning he throws now carries echoes of the work that shaped him. Every stride he takes toward his major league future carries the pride of a family that built the foundation of his resilience. And every challenge he faces going forward serves as another reminder that his story began not with glory, but with grit. As the seasons continue, as he climbs further toward MLB heights, and as he inspires more young pitchers who see themselves in his journey, one thing remains certain. Justin Wrobleski is not simply a player destined for impact. He is a story meant to be told. A story of patience, a story of belief, a story of family, a story of quiet strength, a story of becoming. And for fans who follow him, the joy comes in knowing that so many of his greatest chapters are still ahead, waiting to unfold with the same calm, steady determination that has defined every moment of his career so far. Closing script. Thank you for joining us on this deep look into the journey of Justin Wrobleski, a pitcher whose story embodies resilience, growth, and the unwavering support of family. If you enjoyed this tribute and want more long-form stories that celebrate the heart, history, and humanity behind athletes, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps bring more inspiring journeys to life. And as always, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.